Stream is live.
Okay, I think we are live now. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. I'm Sunil Kumar Das and welcoming you all to the show. On this episode, we will dive into IT and project management. Today, we have one of the brilliant guests, and I'm welcoming Gabber. So, Gabber, it's really great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and looking forward for a discussion.
Sounds good. So we are a bit late because of some technical issues. However, let us quickly get started. So,
Okay.
Gabber, before we dive into our discussion, could you please share us, something about your background, your work experience, our audience?
Good. So my name is Gabo Strem, and I like to identify myself as or explain my experience as a project management practitioner. So I have more than a decade of experience in project management, and we're entering into the 16th year now in project management. Currently working as a program manager in a major telco company, but along the way I actually managed certain different projects, different methodologies, different sizes. And then in my free time, I'm helping people to getting, the CAPM and the PMP exam done. So that's why on my name also you see the PMP doctor kind of title there, which comes from the origin that actually I failed CAPM, failed PMP 2 times, only passed the 3rd time. So also there was a heck of a journey there, but at the end of the journey, I find a secret sauce for getting it done in 8 weeks, and that's what I try to helping people to embrace the idea, because getting certified, that's not a weight loss program, even though most people spend 4 to 6 months on a learning curve, and I try to give them clarity to make sure it's shorter. Plus, on my thoughts around project management, I also run a weekly newsletter where I'm sharing my experience on what I learned so far, and also in conjunction with certifications.
Yeah, that's brilliant introduction. Thank you so much for this one. Now, while we dive into our topic, can we start something with the overview of project management? Because we all have some definitions, right? According to your experience, you have worked on multiple industries, multiple departments, right? So, what's your experience in terms of explaining project management? How can you explain to the aspiring project managers what it is?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. The way how I like to define even the role of the project manager. So the project manager is at the same time as a storyteller, sometimes a problem solver, sometimes a hero, sometimes a person who has, able to emphasize and empathize with the team as well. But technically, very simple terms, the project managers are the ones who actually make things happen and moving things from A to B and get things done. Now, on certain industries, the emphasis and the importance of the project manager is varying one to another. But at the end of the day, of having your skills of planning, having your skills of communication and leadership, can really kind of giving you the edge to enter into this industry or be part of that industry. Because nowadays is even more need for project managers than how it was. Because we just more and more realize that those skills are needed and necessary to move things forward.
That's great, correct. So when we talk about the modern project management, we have witnessed traditional way of working, and we have tailored our approach according to the need and unique complexity that we encounter day by day or year by year, or across the industry. So, as per the modern project management, how would you define what are the different strategies that we have been adopted? We have adopted the techniques. So, how do you define the modern project management and the techniques involved in it?
I think the key skill is that you need to be able to cope with changes and be adaptable. Now, what does this mean? If I look back from my very first 7, 8 years in project management, I do remember I had only 3 projects, and not because, you know, I don't wanted to take more work, but simply the projects were more robust, more traditional driven in terms of having all those plans. I'm not saying they are not there at the moment, but we started to be more ready and embracing those changes, that we are making adjustments if needed, you know, still at the boundaries of a scope baseline or boundaries of your reserves and your budget, for example. But I think what is definitely a difference comparing, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago, is that we are more demanded to be able to change, to be able to adopt, to be able to rethink the way we do things, because it's just simply required. And then, you know, multiple reasons can be technological reasons, that, for example, if you're driving a technological project, that you need to be evolve, you need to be adopt. That's something which is needed. Even there are organizations where they really demanding project managers that you have a good set of technical expertise, which on some organizations that is not, let's say, the a must-have skill. But overall, since the business is evolving in certain industries, you need to be quick, you need to be adaptable, you need to be happy to change things, including your beliefs, your mindset, the way you do things, for a greater good. Because for every project manager, what is expected year by year on your performance reviews is that you do things quicker, faster, cheaper, and more efficient.
Correct. Now, moving this, this is brilliant actually. Now, moving this particular, moving project management, right? So, when we talk about the generative AI, yeah, it's been in the market for at least a year and a half now, and across the industry, we have started utilizing the various flavors we have. So, have you started using this tool or generative AI in your day-to-day life? If at all you are using, so what are some benefits that you have tasted as of now?
Right. So I think AI will have a multiple benefits towards project management. But what we all need to remember, that even though there is, you know, a fastly evolving pace, and even the introduction of last year, if you ask me, there is still no real solution in terms of where the project managers need support, which is, you know, risk management, you know, being more cost conscious, or even helping me with the calculation of the certain costs, like having a bottom-up estimate, for example, or managing my requirements, managing my documentations, managing my communications, and any other plans in the same time. And the reason why I'm saying there is no real solution in place, because the way how I envisioning AI is that, so if I'm working for an organization, I'm able to upload all of my historical data to make sure that the AI will understand, and helping me to giving projections for the future in terms of delivery, in terms of risks, in terms of requirements, in terms of hurdles, or even the lessons learned itself. Because I think what we still need to remind that AI is a great tool, but the humans are teaching the AI to give the response they're looking for. So if I'm teaching AI, let's say, always the sunny day scenario, they're never going to give me the bad day scenario, because they always want to be very, very positive in that sense. So, and then, you know, using the chat GPT to, I don't know, speeding up of, you know, some level of, you know, content and other things as well. So in project management, I think we are in this still some type of discovery phase, where I started to see there are solutions where you can enter the data, it will give you some type of projection, which is great, but it's not as widely available, or you can use at the moment and day to day, like I have an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. So I would say that it will still requires time, but I do believe that on industry specific AIs will be present sometime soon, and those can make a difference, because those benchmarkings and publicly available data are out there. So for example, like if you are in the software industry, I mean, many software companies can contribute into that AI, which can ultimately help you know, the industry to be better, deliver faster, or creating that value which the customer, you know, appreciate.
That's true. So, because when we talk about the tool and in project management, particularly when we go through PMI, it's focusing on tool, processes, as well as people, right?
Yeah.
So, one part is tool where certainly we can focus more on enhancing the tools or leveraging the AI to make it in a better way, right? And
Yep.
whatever we had in the previous time, today we can make it more better. Now, that's one thing. Now, when we talk about the processes, right, we always focus on tools, similarly on people as well as processes, right? Now, when we try to leverage generative AI nowadays in the project management, how can we implement that in enhancing processes? You have some idea on this one?
Okay. Well, that's a very good question. And I think the best answer you're going to get is it depends. And the reason
Yeah,
why I'm saying
exactly.
it depends, because I would say that if you talk about the best practice, so the PMI framework giving you the best practice. So, for example, the way how the traditional method has been explained, you can do anything and everything. I mean, if somebody is asking me to do a nuclear power plant, as a project manager, most likely I can do that. I have to follow what has been described in the process practice guide. It will take time for me because I don't have experience, but we'll see. Now, it seems like Sunil is not here, but on the meanwhile, maybe I can talk about or finish up that thought here while he's joining back. So, where are we? Sunil is coming back. Sunil, you back?
Yeah,
I
yeah, I'm
took
back.
over
I
your
think there's
talk for
some
a while.
network issue here again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
But
took
no,
over
just
your
whenever
talk.
there is a
Yeah.
disconnection, I'll rejoin. I'll rejoin immediately. But yeah, you continue with the discussion. No problem.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
it'll take a
So where we were. We were at the point of so how the processes can evolve in conjunction with AI and how AI can help with the processes. So PMI created the framework, the best practice, which technically can use for any project, any industry. And I give an example why you were off in that case. But overall, every company do almost exactly what AI is doing, but they're doing it manually, which means that if I take the PMI process, I customize it to my own needs, what is making sense to me. So that's why, for example, in a banking industry, in a banking project, risk management and being cost conscious with that is way much more important than I don't know the communications which we are sending out in that sense. Whereas, for example, if you are in energy industry, you are more stakeholder driven because there can be some environmental impact. So I'll say that each industry has a slightly different focus area, but the base is also the same. So, and what these industries are doing, they're taking the PMI framework and they customize it to their own needs. Now, I do believe to take it to, let's say, this version 2 or 2.0 version of that industry standard, AI can really help that because it can help to analyze the data, come up with solutions, and can help you to identify those improvement areas faster than you might gonna do that, because this might require, I don't know, 10 different experts in a dark room for 2 weeks just to analyzing the current data out there where the AI can really help you help you with the timing.
That's great insights. So one thing I would like to understand here now, PMA is also equally emphasizing on learning generative AI so that we are never left behind. So
Yeah.
all the project managers across the world, we all should in the connection with the AI, whatever the market trends. Now for that they are working on it. They are releasing a lot of free courses to ensure people are opting that, learning from that. Now, while we are focusing on learning, what would be your some strategies or tips where you can explain something about learning as well as implementing that in your day-to-day life in terms of project management?
Okay. So project management is a very unique industry or profession. Is a profession because it's all experience driven. So technically, you can learn a certain amount through a book, through a course, through a university program, if you like. But where you really have the those diamonds of the know-hows and how to do things is going to be about, or when people are learning, or maybe they're sharing the experience. So when it's getting down into the lessons learned explanation, I would say that is where the key learning is. And I highly encourage any project manager that if there is a way they can listen to others' lessons learned, you need to be there. Why? Because even though I would say I was listening into a healthcare project manager lessons learned, it might not be relevant to my industry or the work I do, but at least that will give me a spark of an idea. If I'm going to facing something similar, some similar issue 6 months from now, at least I will have an idea how to go through that. Because the key skill of the today's project manager is the communication part, because you are expected to provide answers, you are expected to provide solutions, but do you know all the solutions and all the answers? Now obviously you don't know all of it, even though you are expected to know the answers, but through your network, through your communication, you are able to find the answers which is needed there, which can help the project to move forward. So I would say that, going back to the original question, is that the way how the learning of project management can evolve is going to be around the lessons learned sharing, learning through case studies, because that's how people like to see how the day-to-day challenges are.
That's great. It's great points here. Now, we are going to discuss about the certification as well as the project management career. However, could you introduce about your Agile Admiral, which is a weekly newsletter? So could you talk something about that? What speciality it has, how it is helping thousands of people there in the market from project management background?
Okay. So the Agile Admiral is a weekly newsletter that I'm sharing different topics around project management, which varying sometimes from leadership to use cases or case study kind of sharing, and or about certifications itself. And in terms of the structure is aimed to kind of talk to people who are in the journey or just starting in project management, or people who have like 5 to 10 years of experience, because I also have 15 years, so I really kind of able to kind of see what challenges those people are going through, because I've been there myself as well. So I try to give them perspective, even what is a hot potato within PMI in any given week. So I try to be relevant in that, and also I'm really see it as building a community, meaning that I'm also having people adding into a people to follow category, or I'm also getting guest articles from other people as well, and people are happy to be included in, and just to spread the word of project management and building that type of community, because we are all project managers, but to some extent where everybody's kind of mindset and career really collide is when you get, for example, a certification. So or you do some type of training. So that's where I would say all the different project managers come into the same direction. Whereas I see that the newsletter can also be a single source of learning, some extent education as well. Also what happening in a week, for example. So that's my little bit of my long short form content, because when I helping people with the different certifications, you can get it. It has a certain start and a certain end date, whereas with the newsletter, I'm able to give them or share my experience, and through the other guest articles, they can actually even broaden the perspective, not just for Agile, but also for traditional and also for hybrid project management in that case.
So this is just to everyone, those who are not yet subscribed to the newsletter. So the link will be in the comment section. Please go and be a part of that great community, where you will see more than 1,000 people are engaged to this one. They are learning continuously. You can certainly be a part of this one. Now, moving ahead with Gabo, the next important thing is I would like to highlight is network, right? And I would like to learn something from you and make some points so that our audience can also learn. Could you mention something about networking, the importance and the impact of it? And certainly we are leveraging this particular technique, after COVID. People started working very remotely. Now we are building that as a culture, and we are just inheriting that culture now. Yeah. So given this situation, what your suggestion to build network? how can we leverage that technique and be succeed in our life?
Right. That's a very good question. So I would say before COVID, it was very almost like single path, which is you either there is a community of practice within your company, so you join that and you also be interacting with other project managers within your current location, or if you are in a worldwide organization, that worldwide, or you traditionally go to your PMI chapter and then you're also kind of attending that and get networking there, which is obviously still a viable option. So anyone who's even would like to enter into this field, you should reach out to your PMI local chapter, see what events they have face to face or even online itself, and start networking and feel free the way how somebody hit the invite button on LinkedIn. The same thing will to reaching out those people as well, because they are there to help. So I would say that's one part. And LinkedIn is also, for example, a great tool because it started to kind of evolve in a way that there are more and more people there, and then the engagement and the connections are visible in the way that many people are adding valuable content on a daily basis, where they also hosting sessions, they also hosting one-on-ones. So there I do know numerous number of people who are open for mentoring, open for coaching in terms of career, in terms of for job, in terms of your CV, in terms of just to have a general understanding of project management. Even myself host free sessions on a weekly basis in terms of certifications. So that's where you can engage way much more. And where I see a big difference is that, so there are certain dedicated interest groups, for example, on a LinkedIn platform, where people are discussing just specific topics. And then if that is in your interest, you can leverage that and you can build those connections of, even today, somebody just reached out to me and would like to learn more about the certifications, or would like to learn more about, a certain company, if I might have any feedback on that, or is there any connection I can introduce that person. And I would say that started to be the day-to-day business on the sense, because the more connections we have, the more we can learn, and technically the more broader perspective we can have. And that goes back to my previous point that I mentioned to you, that we are expected to learn or know the answers, but we don't know all the answers. But your role is to find the answers. Now, how are you going to find the answers? You're going to find it through your team, through your network itself. And I think that's also equally as a skill as knowing the technical skills of project management. What I mean by that, so for me, the technical project management skill is, can you do a bottom-up estimate? Can you, manage and maintain a risk register? Can you, go and do a stakeholder survey? Can you analyze the data and make changes on your plan? So those are the skills which I would say, many project managers felt like that in 3 years, 4 years in this career path is all done. Well, I have bad news for you. And one of my mentors told me this, is that to run $100,000 project, you need a project manager. To run $100 million project, you also need a project manager. Now, what's the difference between these two people? Is one guy has just simply more experience than the other one. And I would say that's really can emphasize that the career path is a long career path. So technically you can be a project manager in certain levels as well, not just an individual contributor, like running a single project or running programs, or be part of a portfolio, or the PMO, or even many other variations exist on some companies, where they labeled like delivery itself for 30, 40, or even more years, because this profession is needed, is required. And the more years you have in this field, the bigger the expert you are. And, in certain industries, they simply see you that you are just simply much more smarter than the other ones, just because you have so many years of experience. But again, that all depends. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So leveraging network and connecting with network and building your network is also a brilliant skill that everybody has to learn this one, and that's when your success will definitely one step ahead of the time. So that's great. Now, when we are talking about certifications, you mentioned something. So let's analyze this through an example. We have one entry-level career project manager or somebody from different domain. Let's say somebody is working as a developer or software test engineer. Yeah. And when he or she is planning to come into project management, certainly he or she should learn something from the soft skills, from the technical side of that, and the documentation and dealing with people. There are a lot of verticals to learn about. Yeah. Now, if you would like to pave a path for them, how it will be? What suggestion you give? What will the first point that should learn from, or the start learning from, and what how they can make a progress to get into project management?
Yeah, the very first starting point is going to be you get your CAPM certification, which is the certified associate. Now, why I'm saying that, because technically, in terms of the worldwide scale, that's the most recognized certification in that level of experience. And in terms of acceptance of companies, is 10 times more acceptable than any university degree in project management, sorry to say. And in case of the Google certificate, is the CAPM is just 10 times better. And I mean,
Okay.
obviously there are doubters or people seeing it differently, but most of the time I'd like to say that if you go into LinkedIn job search and looking for a junior role in project management, or even like a coordinator or associate role, I would say within 50 roles, if you find a single one which is preferring the Google certificate over the CAPM, you better show it to me, because I did not find any in the past 2 months. So I would say that in terms of that value proposition, still the value fall under what PMI is representing there. And you might ask the question, but why? Because technically in the past 10, 15 years, they become the industry leading. And if they're not screwing this up, technically nobody can get anywhere close to what it represents, because you need to remember that having a certificate is great, having a badge is great. It also comes with certain type of expectations. But the point I wanted to make, that the value for certification is not driven by the organization who issued this, or myself, or my pride of this, instead of what the job market is recognizing. See what I mean? So if I would say out of 100 companies, 99 will recognize CAPM over, let's say, a Google course, I think you already know the answer, which one you should take first. And I think that's why I think it's a very sensitive topic, because there are lots of different institutes offering lots of different certifications. I mean, on my view, you need to see what the market is asking for. You need to see what they value, and you need to make your move with that. Whereas, for example, getting a master's or a doctor type of essay about project management is great, but how you can leverage and use that, unless you're teaching people, is definitely, I would say, can be a path there. But if you are in a job and would like to increase your experience and your expertise in that job, you need to go with something more tangible, something which will give you real results, and it has the recognition worldwide, which makes you like a versatile PM in the market. And that's why, for example, the CAPM/the PMP, everyone understands what does that mean. Meaning that the companies know what to expect from those type of people. So they're not putting people on the spot that, oh, we're expecting you know this, but oh, I'm sorry, just realize you don't. So they know exactly what to expect from those people.
Great. Now, see, this is one point where people have to understand, okay, what I should learn and what timeline I should fix for myself, to create a study plan so that I can achieve the goal, right? That's brilliant. Now, moving towards something deeper about the certification. So, what are the different latest trends you have seen in project management certification? So, initially, when you do a gap analysis between, let's say, last 2 to 3 years before or prior to that, what was the value there, and now when we see the trends, so what's difference you have seen currently in the trend of project management certifications?
Right. So there is a trend that are more specific certifications which are really fit for purpose for certain industries. Now, give you a good example. So the PMP is one where almost every kind of career path is actually been kind of colliding in some extent. And after that, we go more industry like into risk management, business analysis, or even agile, or further along portfolio and program. And I really would like to use the program management example. So having a program management certification is great, But since, and I think there is less than 2,000 people or maybe 3,000 people worldwide. So I was a very, very unique group to be part of, very, very, very small group. But since the role is not fully recognized the same way in every company or every industry, that's why even the experience which is required just to even apply, for most people, they can't, and they cannot even get the benefit out of it. So I would say that, and again, or going with an agile certificate, so, or a safe certificate. So if I'm a construction project manager, am I going to get any benefit to having a safe certificate? Most likely not. So I mean, even like a PMI ACP, which is in that sense slightly more general, will give you more credibility, but because where those certifications are really needed, the IT industry, software development industry, those type of projects, they can benefit those people. Or if you are, in business analysis, I mean, getting a business analyst certification or something in risk management, for example, if you're in a banking or a financial industry, they will really see the added value. Whereas the same thing in construction, most likely they're not going to see as valuable as, for example, the PMP. But again, the PMP will be seen as an equal value in every industry. So, but I think looking forward, I would be not surprised that there will be, let's say, more specific certifications or even certification paths for software, for construction, for energy, for healthcare projects as well, because I think that's where that's where the difference can be. That number one, how to translate the best practice into real life, and then once you translate that, after that you can make it more specific for industry to industry.
Correct. Yeah. So now we discuss about roles and industries. Now when we talk about roles, now being a project manager, people might be working on different kind of organization where they follow. Some organizations are functional, some are matrix or weak or strong matrix. However, given their organizational hierarchy, project managers' roles are different, and the authority level they have is different. Right now, let's say when you, what would be your strategy to highlight these roles? Somebody is working a very limited kind of roles and responsibility in an organization. Now, being a project manager who has skills, who knows the value, and he or she certainly knows what value I can bring here. Right, in that situation, what would be your strategy for that project manager to showcase their skills to that organization, irrespective of their level or the hierarchy?
Right. That's a very tricky question, but still I believe there are certain things which you can do regardless. And what are those? If you have a clear communication towards your inner circle or your stakeholders, that's something which can be recognized. So that's a skill which you can help you to stand out from the crowd. So I would say that communication is one. Now, some people might say leadership again, but if you don't have anyone to lead, you can lead yourself, but that's really hard to showcase. But instead, from a technical PM skill, risk management. So identifying, tracking, monitoring, following up. Sometimes even just sending a follow-up email of something which we discussed last week can make a huge difference and can showcase anyone that you are happy to take the lead, you are self-driven, you are responsible. And that's something which I would say any organization will appreciate. And in fact, I would say that if you take the current best practices by PMI and risk management, you study that, you learn that, you started to implement it. And if you implement everything which is out there, that's why I'm also telling my students, in 6 months, you're going to be in promotion. Because the more you do, the level of thoroughness they explaining it, like there is no, I mean, it will be recognized. People will see it, people will recognize it. You've been shown as a responsible person who would like to take the lead and care, and so yeah, communication can be one, and then risk management can be the second, which is more tangible in that sense.
Correct. Now, when we talk about the risk management, identifying the risk or the techniques that we use to identify, manage, mitigate, and close that, or to create the lessons learning, in different industry or the different projects is certainly the techniques are different, right?
Yeah.
But what are some of the common ground when we are going to perform a risk analysis? What are some of the basic tips that you would like to suggest so that that's applicable across or regardless of the industry or the process of the project you are working on?
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Do not overcomplicating it, meaning that, identifying and tracking, assigning and following up, those four things, if you are continuously do so, that can make a huge difference. And then that does not require, like a university, degree just to do that, because simply, number one, you meeting with those people to, number one, let's identify, great, what is the impact of those risks if they occur. Now you know what the impact is, so now you can categorize it. Now, can we assign this to someone who can follow up? Now, maybe in the beginning you're going to do all the job, but at least somebody will take the lead. Now you started to send out, information, you're asking people, you started showing on the report, then that will actually be showing your level of responsibility there, and then doing the simple follow-up. I mean, sometimes even people, forget about sending out meeting minutes, which is super powerful. And I do remember times when we had a disagreement about a scope creep. We look back to meeting minutes from 8 months ago, and all these kind of questions have been cleared. No escalations, no unnecessary emails and meetings around that, because a single meeting minutes was actually been clearing all the challenges. So I would say that you can follow those 4 steps, even whatever position you are in the organization, and you can educate yourself. And I'm not saying that you need to go and buy the most expensive course. Obviously, there are, for certain thresholds, certain qualities, certain brands, they do provide a certain quality. But I would say, again, simplify. I go to YouTube and, trying to find, is there any content around the topic I'm looking for? And you will surprise, you will find a lot of things. And, be honest with you, I mean, if there is a need to learn a tool, whatever tool that is, I mean, you can educate yourself into a basic level just simply using YouTube. So even in a job search, if somebody have a query of, okay, I need to use Microsoft Project. I never use Microsoft Project. You go into YouTube and you educate yourself within 2 hours, and you're gonna know the basics. So it's no longer like a barrier. Oh, I cannot apply. I cannot do this because I don't know this tool. Now you're gonna be able to have an understanding, and obviously, you learn the rest on the fly while you are there, or you educate yourself afterwards. But I like to, find the ways when we not overcomplicating things, because many things we just maybe overthink, that creating, complications. Sometimes people say the more people we are involving in, the more questions it will raise. But many cases you can simplify, you can find the tools, you can find the answers, and in many cases just simply rooting down that, are you willing to take the lead? You are willing to, pay the price of, at least be moving forward. Okay.
Look, that's the great thing. However, when we take this initiative, certainly we feel there is or are some risks involved. Probably it's reputation, probably the fear of failure, But regardless of the, regardless of all those things, if you have that gut feeling to take the risk and go ahead, and certainly things will fall on your way, right?
Yeah.
And as we discussed, given this technological era, nothing will be unknown to you. If you are willing to learn, things will be on your fingertips. Just on a click, you will be able to learn at least the basic stuff, so that during the file you can learn more about it. That's good one. Thanks for this one. Though now we are discussing about upskilling ourselves. Now something coming to our mind is being a project manager. We learn the prioritization technique, right? It is one of the brilliant tools that we use every day. Prioritizing to our tasks, prioritizing our meetings, prioritize our day-to-day agenda. Now on the same note, how do we prioritize professional development? As well as while managing the project responsibilities. Yes, what would be your strategy for this one?
Okay. So that's a good one. You need to have some type of assessment of where you are, what needs to be developed, because again, any given time, you cannot develop and work on everything at the same time. So that's why I would say that the career path is so evolving that, within, and because you need to see that every project will teach you something new, you can learn something new, which can be, simply, the budget is bigger, the complexity is different, or there is more client work, or there's a bigger team. I mean, each skill or each experience will give you a different skill. Now, I think I did a poster on this, I think a few months back, which went very well. Was all about, you identify a set of skill and you just work one thing at a time for 6 months. You work something on 6 months, and then the hardest thing is stick to that thing for 6 months. But you take one step at a time. Remember, project management is a long run. But I do also understand that the first 5 years of your career is the most challenging, because some people will still see you as a junior. Some people will recognize you after 3 years, and you also wanted to be recognized, being visible, because you have the skills. But you need to make sure that the clock is ticking, and until you're not reaching 10 years, people will not really, sometimes taking your viewpoint into account. And I do understand that sometimes it's frustrating, but do not run ahead of time, even with the positions, even with certain things, because if I have a discussion with someone and a person identified his or herself like, I'm a senior project manager, and I was asking the question, well, how many years of experience you have, and the person will tell me 4 years. Well, you can tell yourself you are a senior, but after 5 minutes of conversation, you will realize that there are still a lot of things to learn for you. So I would say that you wanted to have that kind of pride and be proud of who you are and what's your role, what's your title, and that's great. I do remember in my career was also kind of similar, and but trying to focus on one thing at a time, no matter how difficult that is, even if it's, let's say, using a tool inside and out. I do know project managers who are doing very, very well just because they are knowing tools very well, because since you know the tool, you're acting quickly, you get things done quickly, whereas for other people, it takes more time. Then, for example, if you're okay with that, then you can focus on communication. You can learn or deep dive more into that planning skill, for example, doing the bottom-up estimate more accurately or more detailed, more quicker, for example, or the risk management. And all these kind of adds up. And as soon as you're having a team, how learn how to be a leader. And most cases are telling people, lead by example. So I mean, for example, when I have a new project starting, I'm meeting everyone, and not just meeting together as one. I'm also trying to meet with people on a one-on-one basis, just to clarify that, why you are here, why I'm here, what is my role, what I see that your role is, and then you can also kind of telling me the same, and just to reach that kind of common ground, because each and every person puts different expertise on the table. But when you are at the beginning of your career, you cannot bring that big cake on the table at the moment, but this will require time, trying to be known for one thing very well, which can be even that you are keeping up your words. So if you say that you say something, you do something, you plan something, you provide something, if you do that just on time, that level of credibility can push you even further as well. Okay.
You have highlighted a lot of brilliant points here, and the first thing which resonated very deeply is sticking to something. If you started, so I would say complete it. Focus on completing rather than starting another thing. Starting can happen definitely, but now if you are somebody who is interested to start multiple things, right now equally you have to focus on completing all of the tasks. Give time, nothing will happen over the night, right? If something is required 6 months of dedication, you must put more than 6 months of dedication at least to get command of that one. That's very, very important while learning and upskilling yourself. Things will take time. We shouldn't be overwhelmed with the opportunity that we are getting in the market given. So we will be getting, but parallelly we have to focus and learn something. That's brilliant point, Gabo. Yes, one other thing, while we are talking about learning, what are some of the resources or your go-to resources while somebody is would like to pursue their career in project management? As we discussed about certifications, certainly starting with CA PM is very, very important, or
Mhm.
definitely add value. Similarly, what other resources you would suggest for our
Okay.
audience so that they can start learning and pursue their journey?
Okay. Mhm. That's also a good question. I like to say that if people are, if somebody's a reading person, you can start with certain books and get educated through there. In terms of personal development, there is a huge variety out there. But again, the common themes of communication, leadership, you can find reasonable, good books out there which are technically applicable for project managers. And or if you are a visual learner, you should go for in-person trainings or online courses or free webinars or live streams like this one, where you can hear and learn from others' perspective. Um, but again, project management is experience driven, so you need to keep your hand dirty on some extent, where you're gonna be involved, solving conflicts, and reading about, learning about how to do it instead, and that's good one thing, but actually when you are there and you try to solve it, that's a completely different one. And but overall, so yeah, there are great books out there. You want me to name some books?
Yeah, definitely. That would be really helpful.
Ula lula, that will be more difficult. I would say
But yeah,
leader-
I would say we can start with the free books available on internet. We can start with PMI's ebook also.
yeah.
There are other free resources for project managers. Yeah, certainly we can
Mhm.
download. And if you have anything in your mind, you can just highlight those.
Okay, so that's a good one. So in that sense, if you go to the PMI website, there is a library of information out there, and I think you can create an account for free of charge. So I would say that since that is the primary source of information, so you can go there. But also, if you are more like a digital PM, so there is also content in that front in more in depth, because I do know that is also exists. So I would say that yeah, the certain books or courses or online events when you can actually be able to share and hear other information about how people are exploring in this career path, because, and that's another thing, so each and every career path is different, so that's why we cannot just simply say that one size fits all. Here every person's journey is slightly different, and my early years cannot be related to anyone else's, because the era when I was doing projects or the type of projects I was involved in, nowadays there are very few of those, for example. So you can go with leadership. Leadership is something where those books from uh, Brian Tracy, for example, or Les Brown, or there was another guy who's also doing lots of leadership books. I do have some of it, but I'm not right next to me.
Yeah, we will leave some of the name of the books in the comment section after the event so that people can definitely find out.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can do that.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing, when to just to go back to discuss about you know the newsletter that you have, and it
Yeah.
has a brilliant customer, we say people engagement, and those who are the new content creators out there in the market or in our community. So what sort of tips you would like to give them, and how did you start this? How did you maintain that consistency to deliver that engaging content, and where you reach more than 7K people? What
Right.
was the tips? What are the tips you can give to the people?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, some people might say that, okay, you need to start with the goal in mind, that, okay, I would like to create a newsletter of 5 million people or something like that. So I haven't got that type of goal, by the way. But still, I felt like that I would like to provide value while sharing my experience. And because I'm also looking for other similar contents at the same time. So number one, you do not need to overthink this, for example. So LinkedIn provides you, for example, also can provide you also a platform for this. So you do not need to look for the best tools of the best tools. Even on LinkedIn, you can create in this long-term or long-form content, and then you can also circulate it with your network. You can share it easily. LinkedIn is definitely preferring their own material, the content which is created in their platform. So I would say that number one, you need to make a commitment that you would like to do this, I don't know, once a week, twice a week, once a month, and then you try to stick to it as much as you can. Now, in terms of the the structure is you can actually you can be a copycat if you like for some extent, because if people are already reading something and you feel it also is valuable, you can do that. You can come up with your own ideas. Because I do know there are people actually putting all of their content in a week, they put it into a newsletter, but that's just not more than just a summary of all the things they have. Or you can come up with newer ideas. So in my case, I try to build that community. So I, try to make reference to people to follow, or even, I have a section of, book to read or event of the week, for example. Or I think this week I'm going to add a specific section called the AI Corner, for example, or a recommendation zone. So if you have the ambition to write your thoughts about project management, absolutely do that. Also, don't feel the barrier that you need to write, I don't know, a long 4, 5, 6 pages in a PDF or whatsoever. Even though, let's say, you have a couple of bullet points, couple of thoughts, that will be also do in the end, because people are keen to read more, people are keen to learn more, and looking for example, numbers on LinkedIn. Still, I think 10% of the population of the LinkedIn users are, so everyone, 90% of the people are still consumers. So they need content in the end. So yeah, I think everyone has something to say, even sharing your experience. Now this is something is
So
very
we need to
trendy.
just realize
your own
that.
Brand. Sorry?
No, something we need to realize that everyone has a story, and just we need to start sharing it. So that's when you'll get into the flow, and over the time you'll be an expert.
Yeah, exactly. And then to give you a good example, so you not necessarily need to start with newsletter on that. You're simply making, maybe 3 posts within a week on LinkedIn, and also sharing your thoughts. That's also, I would say, a good start to get with. That was my start as well. So the newsletter is about 1 year old now, and there were weeks when I missed the newsletter. But you try to be disciplined and get your content out there every week. But I do believe that's a form of information where you can leave a little bit of a legacy there. I'm not saying that because I think some people, I remember many people will have some type of feeling, okay, I should write a book, I should create something, I should create a podcast, for example. But until you're not taking the first step, it's just a big goal out there. And I think to some extent we all have this ambition, or I would like to host a training or something like that. And I think you just need to experiment this. So if you have the ambition to train people, go create like a weekly webinar on LinkedIn and see how many people show up, get the people's feedback. Is it they find it useful, is they find it valuable, and then make it an iteration of 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And after that, you might going to have a working package you just tested, and then you're going to be able to charge people to doing it. So like, you not necessarily need to go for a home run right away, or you might, while you're doing this, you change your mind. So, but I would say overall, you just need to get started, and you have to go with the flow, and then the more effort you put into it, that will give you the direction, which way you should go. Because again, you cannot do everything and everything and anything at the same time. You just need to be known for one thing. So Sunil, I mean, your podcast is amazing. I think last year I had an idea, maybe I should create a podcast, but did I take the lead on this? No, I don't. That's it. That's fine.
No, that's great. So one important thing is just start it. And remaining things will be taken care automatically, but just start it. That's what I would say. Now, okay, I think we are approaching the time now. So Gabor, we discuss, more about project management, generative AI, certifications in the market, how to start pursue their career in terms of project management. as a holistic view.
Yep.
We didn't deep dive, but yeah, we tried, covering everything in a nutshell. However, it's time to dive into something different than our topic. Now, I would like to understand Gabor in a, more in a more likely. So, I would like to understand what's your hobby or interest you have picked up recently that brings you joy outside of your work.
That's a good one. Well, I do like physical activities in that sense, and I do have a family as well. So my free time, I definitely spend a lot of time with them. But at the moment, I do see that for me, the newsletter is, for example, a mission, also a hobby at the same time. So I like doing it. So it's not like something I'm forcing myself to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm kind of live and breathe that idea, because even if you go for vacation, you approach it as a project. You're creating your scope baseline, you're creating your activity list. You cannot help yourself, but that's the way your brain is operating. So I would say that that is very important there. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I do like sports and other activities, or going into sightseeing or going into hiking in that sense. But yeah, the free time is spent with the family in that sense.
So, anything you have done recently which you would like to share with us, like any the tracking, or you went
Well,
outside or
something
some
which I'm very
places?
proud of is that just beginning of this week, I reached 20,000 followers on LinkedIn. So that's something which was a great achievement.
That's amazing, and
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
round of applause for that.
Thank you, thank you for that. But I mean, as I put it onto the post, so all the credits for the people actually been, liking, commenting, or even resharing that post and finding valuable. But looking back, I was started to be more committed last year, March, on LinkedIn, meaning with the content and showing up and utilizing it more itself. So technically, and then I started the journey technically last year with 5,000 followers, and now is reaching 20 is just an amazing thing, and also showing that I just need
That's
to
the milestone.
continue this way. And I think one encouragement to everyone listening into this is that you need to remember that the more years you have in project management, the bigger the expert you are. And if you compare, let's say, who are the people who actually been speaking now on PMI events, on global summits, and so on and so forth, why don't you can be the next one in 3 years time, 5 years time, 10 years time? Because we we all have the current project management famous people there, but why don't you can be the next one? And I mean, I'm saying this with conviction, and I think that has a reality, because those people were there as well, and they not even utilize those social media tools which we have available. So for example, like someone is doing mentoring or coaching for project managers about career path. Maybe you will be the career path expert one day, and then you're going to spread your word on a bigger and a wider scale as well. So I think yeah, you can have a bigger mission if you like, because that is also a viable option looking forward.
Correct. That's brilliant. Now, what's one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self?
Advice to give to myself, or
To your younger self.
my younger self? Oh, okay. uh, don't hate project management, because in the beginning I don't like it. I do remember the first 3 months, first 9 months, I don't like this at all. But after that, I realized that the people who give me the indication or put me in the role, they made the right decision, because I soon realized after that there is, I do enjoy doing it. So that's why I would say that I most likely can do many other work, but still in the end, I like to be a project manager, a program manager, working with the people, get things done, moving things forward, solving issues, even though sometimes I don't like them. But in the end, that's also what is giving you the extra drive. And also with all the part of the planning, of the risk management, and so on. So I would say I do consider myself for a long time that I like to do planning. I like to have great plans. And I like to have plans which can be executed and also will be executed as well. So yeah, I think
That's
yes, stay
fantastic
around,
and so
stay
admirable.
around. Yeah, do not rush things. because I do remember that, for example, having a badge that you are a senior PM, and let's say an organization were recognizing that. I think at one point I was very, very keen to have, and now looking back, your career path will have ups and downs in terms of the roles. It's not necessarily all about that. Once you labeled as a program manager, you're managing PMs, managing projects, then you become a PM again. It does not mean that you are in a downward spiral now. It's just simply because of that different opportunity or different challenge which you have the skill set to solve, and then after that you're also going or moving forward. And then the example of you need a PM to run a 100K project, so as a $100 million project. The difference between the two is only the experience. So
the experience. Good.
The experience.
That's so nice, and so it's a brilliant suggestion. So I think with this we are we approaching to the time. With this we'll end our session today. So everyone, thank you for your time, and those who are listening to us still. So thank you for your time, and certainly we'll meet with a new episode with a new guest. And till then, take care. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you much.
Thanks for your time. Yeah.
Thank you.